Hi, this is Music Plus and I'm Mark D. Kennedy. There's a new buzz in the bush and it's good news for a change. That's the message from Australian country music star Lee Kernaghan with the release of the first single and title track from his new album, The New Bush. And Lee's here with me on Music Plus, just buzzing to tell us all about it. G'day, Lee.
G'day, Mark. How are you, mate?
Good to have you here.
Yeah.
Good Aussie welcome. It's not often we hear talk of revolution coming from the bush. What's the story?
Well, we kind of, in the song, we call it a quiet revolution, in a way. We're talking about the new bush. It's a new approach to doing things. It's taking all the great traditions that made the bush what it is today and building on that. And there's some innovation and new ideas happening. It's exciting stuff happening out there at the moment.
It's very positive and upbeat about rural Australia, something we don't hear very often, what with seemingly never-ending droughts, corrupt wheat board monopolies and Cyclone Larry, Harry, Barry and Gary. Is it a bit of a rallying cry for people in the bush to say, look, we can make it anyway?
I think that's already happening, and you know, I'm not trying to rally anyone. I just sort of, you know, documenting what I'm seeing. I always feel like I'm just an observer. I sit in the background, just quietly watching what's going on. There is a changing mood, I think, and it's this some of the fantastic innovation that's taking place. Some farmers going totally green and having an economic windfall. Out in Burke, E-sheep, where a farmer out there, he implants little microchips into each sheep in the flock, and is able to monitor the growth and produce, you know, a better quality product. Like in the Territory, I've got mates up there on a station that specialise in low stress mustering and high cell grazing and that. But what they're doing is they're exporting and leading the way. They're showing the way with a lot of these new ideas.
This is your 8th album, and with the response to the release of the first single, the title track, The New Bush, very encouraging. I guess you must be pretty happy right now.
Oh, it's always good to finally have the album out. I've been working on it now for about a year, and this album is a bit more rootsy musically, and it's a bit more personal. And I'm enjoying hearing it come back. You know, some of the things that really make me tick as a bloke I've sort of written into the songs.
You were talking a moment ago about the technological advancements for people in the bush. Well, you're pretty technologically savvy. I had a good look at your website, and in fact, the first single, The New Bush, is the most downloaded country song on iTunes as of a week ago.
Well, I love my iTunes, I do, and I love my iPod, so I'll be downloading quite a few of these podcasts from now on. I think it's the future. You
realise when you release The New Bush in America, they'll think that it's an election anthem for George W.'s younger brother and that you're trying to get a third Bush into the White House.
Well, I won't be doing that. This record was never made for international release. It's about Australia, our way of life, our culture. You know, there is no Outback Club in America. There's no utes, and there's no Gundawindi Moon. It's made for Australian people, just us.
Take me through the writing process. Do you just sit down and write a song, or do you do it in bits and pieces, or is it kind of a combination of the two?
Well, I tour a lot through the year, and so a lot of the ideas comes from the travels and the people that I meet. And then eventually we get holed up in a little shack and start writing. I've got a little writing shack up in the McPherson Ranges on the Queensland-New South Wales border, and I get up there, it's about 2,500 feet above sea level, and mate, it's just fantastic, you know. No phones, no faxes, no computers, just this lovely environment to create, and that's where every single song on the album was written.
Including Love Shack?
Yes. Love Shack.
It's not a B-52s cover, is it?
No, it's not. Some people thought that.
Yeah.
Love Shack came from meeting up with a mate of mine. I was at the Deniliquin Ute Muster towards the end of last year, and my mate had come down from Darwin in his Toyota 78 Series Land Cruiser Trayback with the canopy on the back, and he's got the mattress in the back and his girlfriend's in the passenger seat, and I said, mate, it's just a total love shack.
Don't bother knocking.
So we wrote the song, but I'm hearing now that, you know, panel vans are coming back, sin bins, anything you can throw a mattress in the back, it's a love shack.
So I bet you're getting a good response to that at the concerts.
Oh, it's huge. people are loving it. We just started playing it, so I'm sure it's going to be a single somewhere down the track.
Cool. Yeah. Tell me about also the recording process, because it's a lot more complicated than a lot of people would perhaps believe. It's not just simply a matter of getting the band together and saying, hey boys, let's hit the studio for a week and bang, you've got a new album. There's a lot goes on behind the scenes. You might be, what is it? First is the music track goes down, then take us through the process.
Well, it's all very much digital now. We recorded the album in Australia. I also recorded tracks in America, and through digital technology we're able to use tracks that we recorded in America on the Australian tracks and vice versa. So it stops you from going stale, mate, really, because I've been making albums since 1992. The Outback Club was the first one, and the last thing you want to do is just create more of the same. So I'm always looking for ways to sort of reinvent, find a new edge, just to create a new direction. And that's how we did it on this record. So
you might get the backing singers in separately from yourself?
Well, we do that, it's sort of multi-tracking. Mm-hmm. But it was funny with the backing singers that recorded in America. I didn't want to have American accents on this record, so we had to teach them how to sing Australian. They ended up sounding more Australian than I do.
Hank Williams was involved in mastering it as well.
That's right, yes. One of the great masterers. I've seen his name on so many albums that I love, and I love the sound of the way he masters the records.
Just back to your early influences, you proclaim Elvis as the greatest singer of all time on your website. What Elvis songs do you sing in the shower?
Which ones do you want me to sing?
All of them?
Yeah, I know. I think I know just about all of Elvis's songs.
Right. So you do sing them in the shower?
Not just in the shower, all over the place, especially at home, because I've got a couple little fellas, Jet and Rock, they're 4 and 3, and I want to instill rock and roll into those boys the same way that my dad instilled it into me. Dad was a 50s rocker, and I'm country, but there's a rock and roll heart in here as well, and I think that's why the stage shows that we do they're big. They're more like rock concerts, even though we're playing country music.
Going to be talking about your performances on stage in a little while. You mentioned your two boys, Jet and Rock. Is that the same name as one of John Travolta's kids is called Jet?
Well, we spelled our Jet just J-E-T. Right. And Rock, I just wanted to give my boys names that would maybe, when they get into high school, maybe give them a little bit of an edge over the other kids' names, help them get as many good girlfriends as they can.
There's nothing wrong with Lee, though, is there?
Lee's not too bad. I wouldn't have mind being called Rock.
Are those early influences still as important, or have others since had an impact on your style?
I think the early influences are still coming out in my music. You're right, there's new stuff that comes through that definitely impacts on the way you create music. But for me, the biggest influence is just the Australian people, they are the people who inspire me, and just our idiosyncrasies, those certain things that make us unique in the world. That's what I want to write about. I find that the most interesting and satisfying thing to do.
When you're not performing and listening to country music yourself, what sort of music do you listen to?
Broad range of it. Everything from, I suppose, Diana Krall to AC/DC. I like it all. Springsteen. A lot of the new singer-songwriters. It's a fairly broad diet of music.
Country music artists have often been regarded as great poets. Do you believe any other modern-day writers, performers, such as, say, rap artists, have some sort of poetic license there?
Well, yeah, that probably, the rap artists are documenting their culture, that their lifestyle, That's not what I want to write about. Slim and John Williamson, who I just have enormous regard for, writes of our culture, and I feel an obligation to do that. Some people say to me, well, why don't you go to America and pursue a career over there? But to do that, you've really got to absorb that culture and write about them, and I'd feel like I wouldn't be being true to myself and the people who've given me the opportunity to make the records I do today if I did that.
Just having met you in these first few minutes, I'm starting to get a sense of you, I feel, and I see you as quite a gentle kind of guy, which brings me to the next question. You've got 4 nicknames: Kerno, Kearney, LK, and I love this last one, Slugger.
can't talk about that one.
Come on, how did you get slugger? You got
We don't want to go into
You can't tell me that?
No.
Maybe if we have a few beers later on, you can.
Yeah, you'd have to talk to a few of my mates back in the Riverina. They could explain it to you.
Some recording artists say trying to name a favourite song on an album is like favouring one of your children over another. But is that really true? Do you have a personal favourite which you get an extra kick out of performing on stage, or maybe several?
There's a few on this record that are really give me a kick. I love I'll Remember You. It's about a spiritual love, you know, a love that you know, goes beyond an earthly existence, you know. I'll love, even in death, I will love you even more.
It's a very sentimental song, that one.
Well, you know, we were talking before about our favourite movies, and
What Dreams May Come.
Yeah, What Dreams May Come is one of my favourite movies, you know. So yeah, I guess I'm a bit sentimental. I wouldn't say gentle though.
Coming back to track 1 on the album, which I kind of feel could be the next single. This is a real I'm Coming Home number, Where I Come From.
Yep.
Tell me about life growing up as a kid in the bush, and where do you live now?
Well, I spread my time between here in Sydney, southeast Queensland, my shack up in the hills in McPherson Ranges, and basically Australia, where I'm touring. I come from the Riverina, and the song is about remembering your roots and how it becomes ingrained into you. You know, it doesn't matter where I find myself in the world. I'm just, you know, a young bloke from Albury. That's what I feel inside. That's what I'll always be.
Another track on there, Listen to the Radio, harkens back to a nostalgic time before cassettes and CDs and MP3s and wireless downloads and flash memory cards. Do you think radio's going to always survive for those long-haul road trips?
Well, you know what I'm looking forward to is digital radio, because I know I've got mates in America that, you know, they like good country music, or a particular form of country music. It might be some sort of bluegrass, new bluegrass or old bluegrass, whatever it is. They cater to a very narrow target audience. You can drive across the whole United States listening to the one radio program. So I think it's really exciting times coming up for radio.
That'd be a really long program, wouldn't it?
It would. You know, I love radio. You know, as a kid, just for me, there's always a romance about it. You know, laying in bed and the glow of the valve radio, scanning the dial for country songs.
Lee, you've now released 8 albums, sold over 1 million CDs. iTunes loves you. You've won 20 Golden Guitars, 3 ARIA Awards, and have over 20 top 10 hits, 17 number 1 singles, 7 hit albums, and an 8th on the way. You never have to work again. What's next?
Oh, mate, I do have to work. Look at me. Look at my face. I'm working hard, you know, and there's still lots of challenges left for me. You know, my dad says, son, always remember, you're only as good as your last show. And it's true. So always trying to put on a better, more spectacular live concert. And that next record is always sort of out there, you know, to record and to write about.
Lee Kernaghan, really looking forward to your next show.
Good on you, mate. Thanks, Mark.
I'm Mark D. Kennedy, and this is Music Plus.
If you'd like more free information and entertainment podcasts, log on to www.freedigitalcontent.com. That's www.freedigitalcontent.com.